we thought actually on Monday. Well, I wouldn't go quite so far as that, but well, we have to encourage him, you know. Yes, we're just having a shuffle round here in the commentary box, ladies and gentlemen, playing musical chairs with the music. I've now got to reach across and rescue my teamboat, which I abandoned at the other end of the deck. Thank you, Rob. Trailer. It's got a non-detachable bed to it. It predates the girder system, and that is now on the move to the New Zealand engine. That's what it's going off. The ground's dried out, and you'll see that something around themselves to that trailer for parades as it's in demonstrations in this arena during the afternoon. Well, we've got a very early sentinel standing up the top here by the commentary box. This seats on solid tyres. I think that one was built in Glasgow. So that's one narrower in length each item to fit in. So therefore, if you can reduce that 2 down to 1, you've got more room to have a wider and therefore a stronger bearing. So Burrell's objective was to achieve the economy of compounding with the, as you say, the simplicity, Andrew, and the robustness of the single cylinder arrangement. The only other firm that really tried to crack this problem of increasing the economy while keeping the engine in the configuration of a single cylinder were Wallace and Stevens with their expansion system, and that was a single cylinder engine, but by a clever use of double valves here, they enabled the steam that was admitted to be able to expand the full length of travel of the piston rather than coming up against what we would call exhaust back pressure, which happens in a normally single valve engine, and therefore the steam expanded that much more, and you gained power from the expansion of the steam, so you had to admit less of it and therefore increase the economy. This system of Wallace and Stevens was quite successful, and they sold quite a few of them. We see a few around on the rally fields, but I haven't actually seen a Wallace and Stevens traction engine here, certainly in this arena. I'm sure there are plenty on the field. I know there are a couple down in the soaring area, but I haven't seen one moving around in front of us in the last few days. Most of these brass bands, of course, were attached to the businesses, the companies that the men who played in them worked for. Foden's were no exception. They had the Foden Motor Works band was a very, very famous, and still is, I believe, a very famous brass band. The tradition has continued in Sandbach even after the company is gone. And over the years, they won many trophies at the Brass Band Championships that are held regularly every year. And they had one of these Foden wagons adapted as a bus, exactly as you see it here. And the bus is designed to seat 19, a curious number, because we can't work out how you get an odd number into 2 even length seats, one up either side, but there it is. And you can imagine that the members of the brass band, and there are probably more than 19 of them, crowded into this bus with all their instruments. And brass band instruments, many of them are very large indeed. I'm not sure if they had a kettle drum in their ensemble, but they would have certainly have had at least one tuba and a good number of and here they go, yes, and the combination is now successfully underway. As leading trace engine, we've got the 7-horse Burrell road locomotive Lord Roberts. I might talk a bit about the man after whom that engine is named in a while. That immediately followed a second trace by the 6-horse Burrell road loco, His Majesty. Then we've got the McLaren Boadicea, the very big road locomotive as the final trace, and then that is attached to the Diamond T as load tractor, and as I said before, the Diamond T is there principally to provide the air that is necessary for controlling the brakes on the trailer, and then the trailer itself moving sedately through. I can just see it through the cab of the steam bus, over the bunker of an old Fowler, that lovely rusty one, and then over the bed of the Sentinel Super. Got a pretty obscure view of this at the moment.
and the back-shoving engine attached to the rear of the trailer, I believe, will be the McLaren Captain Scott with John Blagg. Yes, indeed it is with John Blagg at the regulator as ever, I'm sure, at the age of 92. It's always wonderful to see John back here. Well, one of the last people around who can claim that he actually earned his living with steam engines as a young man. The engines are getting up plenty of steam now. I can see the McLaren blowing off very hard, and indeed the second of the two barrels, His Majesty. I'm not sure which route they're taking. They're probably going round just the bottom field.
If there's anybody here that could come along and help, it would be much appreciated.
Meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, keep queuing up for the trailer ride. You'll not get the opportunity again to be in the arena of this show with so many engines, such a diverse selection of engines. It really is quite incredible. Come and enjoy it and feel as though you're a part of it, because indeed you are. Fine charity to raise money for. We're delighted to be doing it for this particular appeal for the MRI scanner. So come along and support us in the numbers that you have done so far in the last 2 days, and we'll be well on the way to breaking the record that was set last year, I think, Andrew, wasn't it?
You've done it again. That's twice in a week you've caught me with a mouthful of food. What were you waffling all about on that?
Did we set the record for the raising the most charity money last year?
18,000 we raised last year, yes, which was a very commendable amount of money. But we'd like to top that if we could.
And significantly, I've just seen one of our visitors in a wheelchair being loaded aboard. There's a special wheelchair hoist on these trailers to enable those of you who sadly can't walk yourselves to enjoy and share the experience. So don't be frightened to come forward and join the queue to enjoy this wonderful and indeed, I would say, unique experience. And there goes the big load, propelled by 5 tractors at once, 4 road locomotives and a Diamond C. On its second lap, then whether they're going to aim for the big hill or not, I don't know. We shall see in a moment or two.
The thing to do, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching as they come round, look at the chimney tops of the engines. You can see who's doing the work then. You'll see the blast coming out. And if they're blowing off, you can generally reckon that they're not trying very hard once they get off to the climb. So we'll see what happens. We'll watch in a moment to see whether they're going to go round the bottom again or whether they'll go for the hill. There's a fair bit of weight there for the 4 engines, even with it was
already occurred, and they'll be doing that to ensure that, as you say, they have enough water to make the descent safely. And of course, as you say, you're effectively working blind when you get to that point, because to raise money. and this was one of 3 engines that worked for the firm of Hudson Soaps on this promotional work, and they toured the country. One engine was up in the north, that was this one presumably toured the Midlands and one the south of England, going around shows and fetes and galas, where there was a big gathering of the public to give these balloon rides, which of course must have been the absolute sensation of the age in 1901, as you can imagine, ladies and gentlemen, and the balloon winches were these traction engines. So there's a fascinating little excerpt from the known history of this particular engine. There goes the big load past us in front of the commentary box. I can see riding on the running board of the Diamond T in front of the trailer and shelter is Miles.